right, here we are. Hey everyone, what's up? Happy Friday. Back again with another episode of the weekly SEO. Today I'm joining the stage with Chris Tweten, the CMO of GrowSurf. I guess I spelled it correctly, right? GrowSurf. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Thank you very much. And thank you for accepting my invitation. We postponed this weekly SEO, but it's totally okay. I'm so excited to have you on the stage. So let me give you a little bit of spoiler to all of us why you should stay with Chris Tweten and listen to his tips, because there is a lot of content production, scaling up content production, right?
Right.
So as I shared on Twitter a while before, no keyword can rank without content production, without making a page. So this is a little bit of spoiler, but I hope everyone will enjoy this episode because I am so excited as always, especially for Chris. So here we are today. I will let Chris flash this stage, and I will ask him firstly, tell us something we don't know about you.
Cool. So maybe just a bit of intro on me. Right now I'm working as a CMO at GrowSurf, as you said. We're a referral program software for B2B and B2C tech companies. I've been a growth marketer for quite some time now, about 10 years. I'm Canadian, but I've worked in startups and in and around startups in China, Vietnam, Thailand, and now I'm right back in Canada. So actually, before this, I was working for a chain of hostels in Thailand, and we ended up expanding to other countries in the area, Cambodia and Indonesia. So it's been pretty exciting to take content and, have a perspective of startups and apply it to a more traditional business, brick and mortar, just hospitality. But now I'm right back in the SaaS game. So it's been exciting.
Cool.
Here's a fun fact about me. Before really focusing on SEO as my main driver of revenue, the main thing in my career, I actually made a living off of meme pages on Facebook, meme pages and groups. I found some really big exploits on Facebook growth for exploiting page reach using predictive analytics. And I was able to grow brand new pages to like 100,000 to 500,000 page likes. 100% organic. I was doing this like at one point in 2016, 2017, I could grow pages by like 20,000 page likes a week. And taking the same kind of principles into SEO with content production, it's given me a lot of unique insight on how to abuse algorithms.
That's how you become like growth marketer?
Kind of like, honestly, I started my first meme page when I was living in China. It was a page called Living in China, ironically. And it was just, I was just posting photos of bad translations I saw and like weird food. And then it expanded. I moved to Thailand and I was working for a co-working space there. And I expanded the page into Living in Asia, ironically. And this image you see here is actually a meme someone made of me. I didn't make that. And that was like the first one. So I took that page and then I looked for other niches, like categories of content that people weren't tackling on Facebook. And, Facebook was still pretty poppin'. Instagram wasn't the hot spot for memes yet. Reddit had taken off, but Facebook was the main place. Yeah.
Definitely. I remember these times, like when it was back then in 2014, Facebook was one of the places where a lot of people played like Fishville or Farmville or something like that.
Farmville,
there was a lot of games, if you remember. All right.
Cool.
So my name is Adamita. I am director of SEO at Boostras. And that's it about me because it's not my presentation.
That's it? We're on to the next? Cool.
Yeah. So tell us what you will cover today.
Okay, so today the whole focus is how to scale up your content production. So this is more of an operational thing for SEO rather than strategy on how to rank or how to do SEO, how to do on-page SEO. I think it's a neglected topic when people talk about SEO, and there's not many communities for it online yet. I've been a part of a few where they teach you how to, where to hire writers, how to scale up your writing team. So this presentation today is all about figuring out where the bottlenecks are going to be in your content operation, and then how to resolve those bottlenecks with like process or automation software. Yeah. So before we really hop into it, I'm just going to give you guys like a quick 3-piece on why you should be publishing more content. I find that SEO is often focused too hard on, oh, we need the best guide for the most competitive term, a 3,000, a 5,000 word piece on a very competitive keyword, and then build links. This is a good strategy, don't get me wrong, but it's not that accessible for a beginner SEO or someone with a lower budget. So what we're looking for here is, first off, you can't rank for content you produce. You can't rank for keywords you don't produce content for. Wow, I got a typo in that slide there. Oh, well, that's all right. Yeah, the basic premise here is, I mean, you can rank for keywords you don't explicitly put on a page, but if you don't have a page for that content to begin with, there's no opportunity there. Every new piece you publish is going to be an opportunity to grow your business. I like to think of it this way because, well, when you're just publishing content into the blind for a long period of time, it gets discouraging. So if you don't see results right away with SEO, seeing every piece as an opportunity to grow, even if it's a small win, like, oh, we got 10 new viewers this week, that's still a win. That's still an opportunity to grow your brand. Then the last is publishing velocity. It's an operational advantage over your competitors. So what that means is, like, if you can publish content faster and at the same quality or higher quality than competitors, it's going to be really, really hard for them to catch up. As we all know, SEO is a long-term game. It takes time. Yeah. So if you're publishing content super fast and it's all ranking, like, it's going to take your competitors a minimum, like, 3 to 6 months just to tackle a few of your keywords. So if you keep doing this and continue at that pace, it's really hard for people to catch up.
Yep.
Cool.
When you say like super fast, you mean like per day 2 or 3 blog posts, like news websites?
Right. So I'm not talking like 3 to 6 a day or anything like that. I'll give you a few examples. So in my career, previously when I was working with Bogeda Hotels, we were publishing 1 blog post a day. But these were really low difficulty keywords. So they were like 500 to 800 word articles on like a specific area of Bangkok or Vietnam or something like that, or like on a specific dish, like things people aren't writing for. And with GrowSurf, when I joined them in May, they were publishing 3 or 4 articles a week, 2,000 word pieces, still quite competitive. And now just by optimizing operations, I was able to scale that up to an average of 6 a week. And now we're like just continuing on that pace. And I'm trying to up it to about 8. So 1 a day, and then going beyond that is the goal.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we talked about identifying bottlenecks in content production, but the reality is every single step is a bottleneck. Every step in producing content for SEO is a bottleneck. You can get really swamped down on any part of the process. So it starts out at your keyword research, producing outlines for your writers, your content outlines or briefs. Actually writing the content is probably the bottleneck people focus on the most because it's hard to manage and find writers and scale that. The next step is also one, editing. So just making sure everything is to standard, everything meets your on-page SEO requirements, it meets your editorial guidelines. And then the last is actually just physically publishing it. So like you could get a lot of content that's highly high quality, get it produced. But if you don't have the man hours to actually publish it, inserting your images, making sure alt text and all that is all good, you'll fall behind on the velocity of publishing that you're aiming for. And then beyond that, like promoting the content either through email or whatever means social, that could be another bottleneck. Another one could be backlink building. So, I mean, backlink building, again, it's something that people talk about a lot. I'm a firm believer in just guest blogging for backlinks. Hit up as many high quality sites as you can, but then that gets shoved into the same production funnel for me. So if I'm producing guest blogs, that just gets thrown into my regular content production. And I treat every guest blog the same as what we'd publish on our own site.
Yep.
Yeah. So with that said, in this presentation, just for the rest of it, I'm going to hop into a few of these areas of the bottlenecks. And Roman, feel free to stop me if you have questions or want me to expand on any part of these bottlenecks. But I want to touch on ones that I feel don't get enough coverage in the SEO community.
Mm-hmm. One thing which is on my mind right now is when you mentioned link building backlinks, like producing content for just one website, not guest blog posts. We can produce the best content, but if this is a new website, if this website doesn't have any traffic or any authority, then it will be longer to get backlinks. Like you have the best content, better than your competitor, but you don't get rank. If you don't get rank, you will never get backlinks at the same time because you don't have traffic. So when you don't have traffic, people don't know you. So that's the reality. But when it comes to backlinks, of course, I guess guest blog is the best option. Am I right when it comes to backlinks, to earning backlinks, not to buy?
I would say it's the easiest, yeah. And there's a lot of larger sites, even with higher authority, that will accept content from lower authority sites, provided you meet all their very strict writers' guidelines. And I kind of do that the same thing with our own website. So like the GrowSurf site, I give the same outline, the same technical guidelines to guest bloggers who want to submit content to us as I do to the writing staff that I have.
Mm-hmm. All right, gotcha.
Cool. Okay, so the first one that I've really taken the time to try to change the way I've approached is keyword research. In the past, it's always been very sporadic, what kind of content is high intent and what kind of content are within our niche and what people are actually looking for. So the process I've taken going forward is more so, how do I do this at scale and how do I cut down the amount of time that I'm going to be doing for all of it? So where that comes into effect is using AI tools. So I'm looking at how can we do keyword research with Ahrefs or SEMrush, whatever you need, whatever your preference is. And you export as much as data as you can. Everything your competitors rank for, everything anyone in your niche ranks for. Export a list of 20,000 to 100,000 keywords. And then I'm using AI to cluster them. So it's just sorting them into topics. What keywords overlap with each other so that they all fit on one page? And then how do I set that up so each page doesn't have much overlap with each other? So I use a tool called Cluster AI. It's by Nick Jordan at Content Distribution. And I found that saved a lot of time. So right from the start, when I joined GrowSurf, we used this tool. We exported I think 50,000 keywords. The link is there. And basically all I did was I imported it in a Cluster AI. It gave me a list of about 1,000 different pages that I can tackle. And it sorts them by how much overlap in ranking there is between the keywords. So you don't have to worry too much about am I encroaching too much on the different types of keywords. This one was like great because it just told me, hey, here's the pages you need to produce. Here's what people are searching for. I will give a disclaimer though. It did take some filtering out of the final results. So although it did give me a pretty good high quality list, there was quite a bit I had to remove as well. But that came down to the quality of my keyword research. I took a look and it was like, well, for us, we're a referral program software. So a lot of the keywords related to referral programs are like people searching for specific companies' referral program to get info or like because they want to sign up. So I had to like remove a lot of those. I had to remove a lot of like low intent stuff that people were just not gonna, it wouldn't make sense for us to produce content for. But I have tried this as well in other niches in travel and for other areas of marketing, and it's worked a lot easier than referral programs.
I just checked this blog post, by the way, from Nick Jordan, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is also, it's with Ahrefs, and there's a menu, like when you go to Keyword Explorer, having same terms. Like it's something, a hidden gem on Ahrefs. I actually didn't know like there is something like keyword clustering on Ahrefs, because when you filter keywords list on Ahrefs, you will see like something similar to the keyword we search. So wow, we definitely should take a look at this one. I will share like a bigger version of it, of the link.
Yeah, and this isn't the only topic clustering tool, like topic clustering or keyword clustering. But I'm part of their Facebook community, and they do a lot of great stuff, like growing 0 to like 1 million organics a month in different niches in like a year or 2 years. It's pretty powerful. So I've been taking a similar approach to GrowSurf, at least in the initial, where I was like, okay, I need to get everything referral marketing. And it helped with that. I've changed up our strategy a bit in recent times, so it's not a strategy I'm executing on anymore. But if you're starting a new site, this is really great because it gives you the basis. We call it like front-loading keywords. So it's like, here's the potential traffic I get from the first 1,000 pages I make or 100 pages, whatever it is. So you want to produce that as quickly as possible because the longer it takes you to produce all that content, you're losing out on traffic as you wait. So if you produce content for 100 blogs in 3 months versus 6 months, you get an extra 3 months of traffic.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the first bottleneck that I really had trouble with in the past, and this is how we resolved it with the past 2 companies I worked with. The next one up is content outlines. So this was like a very, very time-consuming process. I've used 2 tools to help in that. They both use AI. I'm sure you both have heard of them. I'm sure, Roman, you've even had these guys on your show at some point. SurferSEO and Phrase, they're great for making content outlines. What I would say in creating a process for developing your own outlines, though, that took it to the next level for me, was creating content series outlines. So rather than just producing an outline for a single piece of content, I'm creating a content outline for a single piece, but it'll be part of a series. So for example, we had an article series on GrowSurf on the principles of persuasion and how to apply them to marketing. So that was a 1 content brief that I wrote for my writers, but it produced 9 pieces of content because it was each principle individually, and then an overview one, so a content hub, and then an additional piece on how to apply that specifically to email marketing. Yeah, I don't think I need to dive too much into this one. Like, these are pretty familiar tools, but they are worth mentioning.
Yeah, I guess there is some guidelines how to use the tools. If there is anybody who don't know these tools, like SurferSEO is one of the best, but the second one is the first time when I heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
maybe if you want, you can introduce a little bit of the second one.
They're honestly they're pretty similar tools. I've used Phrase for developing content outlines for it. I found it in some cases, in some niches, some topics, to be better than Surfer in terms of generating your headers for an article. So that's, I mean, it sounds like it's a small thing, but when you're trying to scale up production, it's a very big thing, since each step is going to add more and more man hours to your production.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we came to the best part, I guess, of this presentation, copywriting.
Yeah. Copywriting, yeah, this is the toughest one to solve, toughest bottleneck in production to solve, because, well, it takes time to write an article. It takes time to proof an article or make sure it's up to your quality. So I found that there's really 3 ways to scale it up. And this kind of goes into the more traditional ways of scaling a business. There's only a few ways to scale a business. You add more time, more labor, or use technology to speed things up. So it follows the same principles here. So the first way is you hire more writers, you get a bigger writing team, and then as a result, you need an editor or a content manager to manage the copywriters. The second is AI copywriting tools. This is a big field right now popping up. Personally, we use Jarvis as an AI copywriting assistant. We don't use it to produce our full out content, as sometimes they advertise for that, these tools. I don't think it's a full replacement for writers, and I don't think the tech is there yet. But if someone has a very in-depth content outline and what they need to produce for SEO, and they're reaching a point where they have writer's block, or they're not sure on a topic, or they just don't know how to phrase something, it's really, really helpful to use AI copywriting. And then the last area of the copywriting bottleneck is just repurposing content. So it sounds kind of, I don't know, it sounds like a cheat.
Yeah, definitely. I know 2 tools. One of them is Copy.ai, and the second one, Copysmith.ai.
Copysmith, yeah.
Yeah, 2 of them are really good. Like when I'm searching for pain point of a keyword like content production, they will like show you a lot of examples what kind of things you can use. And as an SEO, I search for these phrases on Google, and I didn't see, like, there is no source which includes these phrases. They create somehow, but of course, it's behind of this is working AI. I don't know how it's working, but maybe it's based on web search, because on web search we have trillion of sources. And one of my colleagues, Bushra, today shared a blog post on boostras.com where she mentioned daily there is 7 billion blog posts or something like that publishing. Like people are publishing 7 million blog posts per day. That's unbelievable. And I guess there is a lot of AI tools, which is a big part of this millions of blog posts per day. But of course, there is also news websites.
Yeah, and syndicates as well.
Yep.
Yeah. With the AI copywriting tools, so from my understanding, Jarvis is the one I use. Copy AI was like a close second in terms of ones I was looking at. And then the other that I found good for marketing specific content is Closer's Copy. That's kind of a newer one I'm playing around with. The thing to keep in mind here is each of them has their own learning curve. You really have to learn the AI. You have to learn what kind of inputs to give it to get what you want out. But from my understanding on how they work is GPT-3 is like a massive, massive AI. And at least with Jarvis, it's read 20% of the internet, but only up to a certain date in 2019. So it's really interesting because it can give you long text, very detailed, completely original from its own brain, so to speak. But then you give it like a prompt like write about COVID, and it doesn't know about COVID. It doesn't know it exists because it hasn't read anything on it yet.
Yep. Chris, by the way, you have a question. It's regarding long tail keywords. I guess this is one of your best experiences you have. So Bisha said, I tell a customer gaining visibility for different of keywords will take 6 months. They want to see quick results, as usually clients do. Do you think focusing on long tail keywords will reduce the time to see effects?
I think it could. I mean, if your on-page SEO is on point, and if actually, you know, if you're just tackling long tail, on-page SEO is enough to rank. If you want to show quicker results, what I would say is use a mixture of keyword difficulties and a mix of long tail and more competitive keywords. You can show them some incremental growth on, you know, tackling long tail keywords in the shorter term, but you don't necessarily need 6 months to rank long tail. But I think the problem here isn't their expectation of getting results. It's the expectation of how to prove that you're actually showing progress in SEO before 6 months. So you need to just reframe how this conversation goes completely. It's not going to be about showing results in those 6 months. It's going to be about how can I prove that SEO is making an impact on their website? Not necessarily traffic. I would say the first thing you report on is impressions. So just report on total search impressions. Try to show whatever keywords you can that are improving. If you can show a trending upward of impressions and your click-through rate on Google isn't dropping, or better yet, it's improving, that'll lead to more traffic eventually. So I think it's easier to show impression growth in the short term than it is to show ranking growth in the short term.
Right. So speaking of copywriting, by the way, and I guess this is one of the last slides, I want to ask you actually a question. What are your best experiences or best tips while you're working with copywriters or content production agency? Do you teach them, or do you prepare content briefs before you go to publish them?
Right. I'd say it's a bit of both. You have to train them to meet your standards, and then also you should be producing content briefs. And if it's not you personally producing the briefs all the time, they should be following a process that matches what you want. So if your content briefs are inconsistent and you're giving them different things, or you know the expectations are different on a per piece basis, you're going to get inconsistent output. The writing in the end isn't going to be the same every time. What I like to do is give the exact same formatting for my content briefs. So I just started out super simple. I've got the focus keyword. I have some keywords I want them to include in body text and headers. I give them even specific internal links I want them to include. And then I tell them include a certain amount of external links. I also give them a list of websites where I'm like, hey, these are our competitors, never link to them. And then beyond that, I give them all their headers for the article. And under each header, I even go more detailed. So I'm like, I give a required reading at the bottom of my outline. So I'm like, hey, you need to read all of these websites, not websites, but like specific pages. So it'll be like an article on page 1, some other resources they could use to write their piece. But the goal of the content brief is to, you could present this to any writer, and they should be able to produce.
All right. I guess we lost Chris.
Piece of content that they are. Hello?
All right. Yeah, are you there? Yeah. I can hear you right now.
Yeah, so the goal of the content brief is just to give the writer something that they feel confident in writing about. So under each of those headers, after they read the required reading. I even am like, okay, here's read source 1. Here's the header in source 1 that is similar to what we're producing, and not paraphrase, but here's the main points that I want you to make, and they'll write on those. And then I'll even include, okay, put an internal link to this page in this header, and then that gives them some contextual work with how they can include those links. And over time, I actually loosen up how strict these outlines are with a writer. So if they can hit a outline to a T and reach everything that I want, maybe in a couple weeks after they keep producing content in that format, I lessen the amount of detail under each header as they get more comfortable.
All right. Okay, so yeah, this is one of the slides I will explain quickly. If you want to subscribe to our newsletter, and if you want to get weekly SEO news delivered to your inbox, you just go to this link, bootstrap.studio/subscribe, and you will get these emails every week on Friday or Sunday. So that's it. And then the next slide is about Chris. Thank you very much for being here, and to everyone who is attended, who attended this weekly SEO. And again, Chris, thank you for being with me on the weekly SEO stage. You're out of this world. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Roman.
So, happy Friday, everyone, and I wish everyone a happy weekend ahead. Goodbye.